let's take a nostalgic journey to the past and stroll along the high streets of Britain to revisit some of the shops that are sadly no longer with us. Last year on Stuview TV I made a video called Lost Shops We Wish Were Still Around. Included in that video were old favourites such as Woolworths, British Home Stores and Quick Save. In case you haven't seen it yet, I'll leave a link at the end of this video and also in the description box. Today's video features more old favourites from the high streets of yesteryear. How many will you remember? Let's start with a trip to the supermarket for the weekly shop. How many of you remember the supermarket chain Presto? If you are from Scotland or the north of England, you are probably more likely to recall shopping in Presto, as it is in these areas that the chain began life in 1964. However, over the ensuing years, the brand became established nationwide. Presto was part of the Allied Suppliers Group, which also owned the likes of Lipton Supermarkets and Galbraith. It was hugely popular with shoppers during the 60s and 70s due to its varied range and keen prices. Fancy a Vesta curry for 18.5p, followed by a Heinz sponge pudding in a tin for 9p? Then head to Presto. As often happens in retail, Presto owners Allied Suppliers were eventually purchased by another company, in this case Argyle Foods in 1982. In 1987, Argyle took over Safeway supermarkets and many Presto stores were rebranded to Safeway. This continued gradually over the years until the Presto name finally disappeared in 1998.
Does your supermarket offer as much as Presto does? Do they give you low prices on 4,000 grocery items every week?
Presto does.
Do they give you the finest quality meat and poultry?
Presto does.
Do they give you the cream of dairy produce?
Presto does.
Do they pride themselves on giving you friendly, expert advice?
Presto does.
So come on in, because Presto does more. Presto, for value and variety.
Expanding from supermarkets to hypermarkets now, let's pay a visit to Savour Centre. A joint venture between Sainsbury's and British Home Stores, Savour Centre didn't really operate on traditional high streets as the stores were so vast. Instead, they opened in out-of-town locations, with the first store opening its doors on the 15th of November 1977 in Washington, Tyne Wear. The huge store sold household goods, textiles and electrical items in addition to groceries. There was also a 380-seat restaurant. The amount of Savour Centre locations across the country were gradually increased over the next few years, rising to a total of 13 stores. When a branch opened in Edinburgh in 1984, it marked the first time that Sainsbury's goods had been on sale in Scotland. In 1989, Sainsbury's bought British Home Stores 50% of the company to become the sole owners of Savour Centre. By 2005, all Savour Centre stores had been converted to the Sainsbury's supermarket brand. Foster's is one of those names that seems synonymous with the 70s and 80s. If you're male, and depending on your age at the time, it's likely that Foster's was your destination for school uniforms, flecked sports jackets for nights on the town, or a reasonably priced suit for an upcoming wedding or job interview. Despite being so intrinsically linked with those decades of the 70s and 80s, Foster's could trace its roots all the way back to 1876, when the first shop was opened in Pontefract by William Foster. By 1985, Foster's menswear boasted 400 stores. These were sold to Sears in that same year, a move that did not pay off. After an unsuccessful attempt to move into sportswear, Foster's went into administration in 1998 and ceased trading completely in 2002. Menswear chain John Collier had a very different image to Foster's. Despite being founded at a later date than Foster's, 1907 to be exact, The image of John Collier always seemed to be that of an old-fashioned store that attracted a slightly older clientele. Maybe this is because the chain started life under the name 50 Shilling Tailors, and it wasn't until 1953 that the stores were rebranded as John Collier. It's interesting to note that Henry Price, the founder of 50 Shilling Tailors, and hence John Collier, had a business rivalry with a gentleman by the name of Montague Burton, founder of the Burtons chain. In 1985, the Burton Group purchased the John Collier chain, leading to the John Collier name soon disappearing from Britain's high streets.
The young revolution at John Collier. The window to watch.
From menswear to ladieswear now, who remembers Chelsea Girl? The go-to destination for the fashion-conscious, Chelsea Girl was very much a child of the 60s, with its bold, colourful styles and overall eclectic range. Although the Chelsea Girl name only came into being during the 60s, the chain had actually been around since the late 1940s, trading under the name Lewis Separates. With the rebranding complete and the name Chelsea Girl evoking images of swinging London fashion boutiques, there seemed to be no stopping the chain, with new stores regularly opening across the country. Throughout the 1970s, Chelsea Girl was one of the most popular ladies' clothing chains in the country. In 1982, a men's equivalent, Concept Man, was added to the company portfolio. This was soon merged with Chelsea Girl, with the resulting combination being known as River Island. Certainly one of the more obscure names in this video. I'd love to know how many of you remember Brentford nylons. Maybe you have nightmares of climbing into bed and creating an explosion of electric sparks as your nightwear reacted with the famous Brentford nylon sheets. Perhaps your biggest memory of Brentford nylons is the television advertising campaign fronted by radio DJ Alan Fluff Freeman.
This is Brentford Nylons, the money savers, where you can save pounds on nylon sheets, bedspreads, housecoats, nighties, and of course top quality polyester cotton sheets in prints and plains, only from Brentford Nylons, the money savers.
Promoting great value for money, Brentford nylons hit the peak of popularity during the 1970s, with customers purchasing their nylon bed sheets and more in their droves. By the 1980s, with the chain becoming ever more unfashionable, the word nylons was dropped from the name and the stores were simply known as Brentfords. This didn't really help though, as Brentfords had never been fashionable in the first place. By 1995, the Brentfords name had disappeared forever. Hey Alan, give us some happy news.
Ladies, when Brentfords lowered their sale price of blankets, they sold thousands. When they reduced their sale price of polyester cotton sheets to $1.69, you bought in millions. You keep buying and they'll keep the prices down. All right?
Rumbelows officially came into existence in 1971 with the merging of two electrical retailers, Fred Dawes and Sydney Rumbelows. Offering a television rental service as well as a range of electrical goods for sale, Rumbelows tried but ultimately failed to compete with the likes of Radio Rentals and Dixon's. Although on the surface it seemed that Rumbelows was a thriving business, when it finally went out of business in 1995, it was revealed that the chain had never made a profit in 24 years of existence. A shame really, as I always thought that the Rumbelows image was one of trust and reliability over the flashier, more in-your-face style of Dixons.
Right, attention you electrical retailers, you! Now, which of you lot offers your customers free service for 1 year? Very good. Free home trial? How about, wait for it, Rumbelow, wait for it, free removal of old products? Interesting. How about free delivery?
Sir.
James Rumbelow, you lovely little electrical retailer, you. It looks like you is out on your own now.
Ah, that's because only we Rumbelows offer you all this, plus 30 days to exchange goods or get your money back. That's why we save you money. And serve you right.
That's what I like to see. Active service.
Just like Dixon's though, Rumbelow's window was great for catching up with the football scores when out shopping on a Saturday afternoon.
Hello, little Rumbelow character. What can you show me in televisions?
Well, sir, we have a wide range to rent or buy at low prices, and they're all covered by our Rumbelows bond.
Look, I'm on telly.
Our bond gives you free delivery wherever you live.
Wow, this set fits me perfectly.
Free service for a year.
Hi.
How do you keep popping up all over the place?
Because I'm on videotape.
Ah.
Yes, first I'm here, then I'm here.
So you were. Rumbelows, we save you money and serve you right.
When I made the first Lost Shops video in June last year, one of the most requested stores to be included in a sequel was Beattie's Toy and Model Shop. Coming as I do from the West Midlands, whenever I think of the name Beattie's, my mind immediately goes to the grand department store of that name, now sadly also defunct. Across the country though, the name Beattie's conjures up images of toys, figures, miniature cars and model trains. Many people's choice as favourite toy shop of all time, Beattie's began life in 1938 as the Southgate Model Shop in London. By the 1990s there were 60 Beattie's shops located across the country, including stores in some of the biggest out-of-town shopping centres. Sadly, after a few years of financial difficulty, all Beattie's shops had closed by 2001. Undoubtedly one of the most famous names in British retail history, Littlewoods was at one time the largest privately owned company in Europe. Although all of its high street locations had closed by 2005, the Littlewoods name still exists online today under the ownership of the Very Group. Founded in Liverpool in 1923, Littlewoods was originally just a football pools company. By 1932, the company expanded into mail-order retail, with the Littlewoods catalogue becoming a fixture in homes across the country for years to come. The first actual Littlewoods shop opened in Blackpool in 1937. After being one of the most recognisable and dependable names on the high street for more than 65 years, all Littlewoods stores had closed by 2005, with a number of locations being sold to Primark, the value clothing chain that Littlewoods was struggling to compete with. Probably just as famous as the Littlewoods stores, if not more, was the legendary Littlewoods catalogue. Launched in 1932 and published every year until 2015, this most fondly recalled of home shopping catalogues at its peak boasted a print run of 25 million copies. These were just a very small number of shops that have sadly disappeared from Britain's high streets. What were some of your favourites? I'd love to hear your memories. Remember, if your favourite shop hasn't been mentioned today, it may well be featured in the first Lost Shops video, which should be on your screens now. As always, many thanks for watching, and do join me next time for more nostalgic goodness.